For the past few days, a piece of news inscribed as Israeli-Palestinian conflict is hitting the international media. Different discussions are being made around this issue. Different countries are projecting different thoughts regarding this. Some are showing their support for the Palestinians, while others are standing with Israel bucking it up. In the last 7 days, nearly 200 Palestinians have died in the bombing, half of which are women and children. Israel, on the other hand, has reported 9 deaths including 2 children. Keeping in view this great loss of human lives, Turkey has called for an emergency meeting of Organization of Islamic Cooperation (OIC) to introduce an international mechanism for peace for the Palestinian people. The government of Saudi Arabia also condemned Israeli contravention of Palestinian rights by calling international community to take steps in this crucial moment. Malaysia also added that OIC must take immediate actions to stop the massacre of Muslim lives happening in Palestine. Pakistan showed its willingness to join hands with the other states of OIC to stop the bloodshed of innocent Palestinian lives as soon as possible. The Israeli-Palestinian issue is not new. This issue started in 1948, when the civil war took place between the Palestinian Arabs and Israeli Jews, resulting in the emergence of the Israeli state. Ever since then, the issues are fueled between both communities ever so often, because of some particular reasons. The question is, what was the reason behind the issue this time, and what fueled it? It all started when the Palestinian families living in Sheikh Jarrah were forced out of their homes. Sheikh Jarrah is the Palestinian neighborhood in East Jerusalem, 2 kilometers away, towards the north of the Old City of Jerusalem. Sheikh Jarrah is legally considered to be under the Palestinian territory. But it was occupied by Israel in 1967. Recently, the Israelis claimed that the homes in Sheikh Jarrah belonged to them before the war of 1948, and now they are back in the city, demanding their homes. The Israeli settlers came and stole these homes from Palestinian Muslims, leaving them homeless. Palestinians made appeals to the Israeli government to protect their homes, but no action was taken in their favor. Instead, if the Palestinians refused to leave their home, the police would evacuate the homes by throwing grenades and dragging them out. This illegal occupation resulted in a sudden burst of anger and sorrow in the Muslim community living in the area. 6 Palestinian families were instructed to leave their homes this May. To stop this, hundreds of Palestinians came on the road to peacefully protest against this. Since it was Ramadan, while the crowd of protesters was breaking its fast during the iftar time, a swarm of Israelis hit them, throwing random things at them. When the protesters fought back in their defense, Israeli police came into the ground. The police dragged and arrested the Palestinians, not allowing them to defend themselves. This incident added fuel to the fire. The protesters became furious and even more determined not to give up on their rights. Later that incident, the Israeli army started attacking and shooting the Muslim worshippers in al-Aqsa Mosque. Where is al-Aqsa and what happened there? Al-Aqsa is located in Old Jerusalem. Old Jerusalem is legally divided into 4 quarters, each for a different community. One for Christians, one for Armenians, another for Israelis, and the last one for Muslims. Al-Aqsa Mosque is present in the Muslim area. However, in 1967, Israel took the control of the whole of Old Jerusalem, including the al-Aqsa Mosque. Israeli government banned the entrance of any Muslim into the mosque. They were only allowed to visit after legal permission from the court. The government rarely grants permission to any Palestinian civilian. Now, after the Sheikh Jarrah protests, Israeli police entered al-Aqsa Mosque fully armed and safeguarded. The police attacked the Palestinian civilians, offering their night prayer in al-Aqsa, with rubberized steel bullets and stun grenades. Moreover, the police used the grenades to attack a little girl and woman in the market as well. Later, the Israeli police entered al-Aqsa in bright daylight, hitting grenades everywhere and closing the doors of the mosque. Hence, not allowing the civilians to escape the tragedy, leaving hundreds wounded. Afterward, the police attacked the medical camps, where the wounded civilians were getting treatment, and hit the medical staff with the same grenades. Now one may ask, what is the connection between Sheikh Jarrah and al-Aqsa Mosque? Al-Aqsa is the third holiest site for Muslims after Mecca and Medina. So, using this reference, Israel uses the Al-Aqsa Mosque as a tool to control Palestinian people. Looking back into history since 1967, every time Palestinians protest against some severe Israeli crime, the police attack Al-Aqsa to threaten them, taking the advantage of their emotions for their holy site and telling them that they will take it away from them if they stay rebellious. They know Palestinians will try to protect it at all cost because of its religious significance. Now, what was the response of Palestinians over the attack on their holy site? The protesters from all over Palestine marched towards Al-Aqsa to protest and save it from attacks. The Israeli police blocked the roads to halt their way. The Palestinians still managed to walk on foot towards the mosque. The protesters from East Jerusalem helped and took buses to pick them up from the checkposts to take them to Al-Aqsa. Thus, the protest is not only happening in Sheikh Jarrah, but in Al-Aqsa and all over Israel against the attacks on Al-Aqsa. What is the response of international communities regarding this? Many countries are supporting Israel in transgressing Palestinians. The USA is funding $3.8 billion each year to Israel, thus helping Israel in not just suppressing the Palestinians, but also in systemic racism, settler colonialism, ethnic cleansing, apartheid, theft and occupation of Palestinian land, and murders of Palestinians. So the question arises, if the world is naming this issue a conflict between the two parties, then why are Israelis armed with guns and Palestinians are not? It's not a war between two countries, it's a suppressive overtaking of one government over another, that is Israeli over Palestinians.